Hello, and welcome to the Exponential Growth Podcast, powered by Analyst Investors. I'm your host, David Olivencia, co-founder of Analyst Investors, and a passionate advocate for leveraging innovation and technology to drive success. In this podcast, we'll dive into the strategies that top leaders, investors, and entrepreneurs are using to navigate and thrive in this era of accelerating technological change. Whether you're looking to lead more effectively, make smarter investments, or understand how to harness disruptive technologies for exponential growth, this podcast is for you. Each episode will feature conversations with visionary thinkers, industry pioneers, and innovative leaders who are redefining what's possible in today's rapidly evolving world. So if you're ready to start and stay ahead of this curve, let's get started. This is Exponential Growth. All right, everyone. Well, hey, welcome to another episode of the Exponential Growth Podcast. Today, we have a great guest, somebody I haven't known that long, maybe a year or so. Our fund, the Analyst Ventures Fund, did an investment in them that will be announced here shortly. So it might be kind of new news here, and really in an amazing space. Had spent some great time with him in the U.S. as well as in Colombia. Got to know him a bit, and I think we're going to have an excellent conversation. So welcome to the podcast, Carlos Chavez, the CEO and founder of Braven. Carlos, welcome.
Thanks, David, for having me. Super excited to be here speaking with you today.
Right. So excellent. So we always like to start out to give the listeners, just tell us about you and your story. I mean, I know a bit of it. It's very interesting, very exciting, but share with the audience.
Amazing. So yeah, I am a proud founder from Colombia. I was born and raised there. I come from a middle class, hardworking family. Both of my parents were entrepreneurs. My mom, she had an accounting and finance services studio. My dad, he has had many different businesses in his life. He owned retail shops. Then he owned a couple of insurance businesses, and yeah, that was his story. And yeah, as for my personal story, I tried working for a brief period of my life. I went to work for a multinational company in Colombia. It was very hard on me, like, to deal with all the corporate politics and all of those things. It was very hard for me to engage with that. So I couldn't do
This
it.
this this, this corporate stuff isn't cut out. I'm not cut for this corporate stuff.
It was so hard. It was so hard. One of the hardest things I've ever done. So yeah, I decided to build something, even if that something was something small. I wanted to be something that where I could control, like, the work that was put in and the direction specifically. So my first venture was a restaurant that did very bad. It was I didn't have any.
What kind of food was it? What kind of food?
It was Caribbean food in Colombia.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
and don't get me wrong, it was good. A lot of support from our friends. That was like the highlight of the project. I had waves of support of everybody that I knew, and that was incredible. But still, there are some industry specific things that I didn't have a clue about how to buy stuff, how to operate, how to manage the shifts, whatever. It ended up being it ended up not being a successful business. I learned a lot about how to run a company, how to run a business, how to pursue things that would interest me. That was also like one of the biggest learnings, because I realized that regardless of what you do, everything is hard. Like, there is no path in life that it's like super easy and
Yeah.
where everything is sunshine and rainbows. That doesn't exist. Like, everything is gonna be hard, and you might as well try to choose a vector that's aligned with your taste, with something that you feel comfortable enough by putting like probably hundreds of hours. So yeah, I decided to do that. Even though that business and didn't end up becoming successful, it gave me the confidence of understanding that I could do things, that I could start something. After that, I went on to have like many other businesses in hospitality. Afterwards, I co-founded a telehealth project that in Colombia. This was a clinic where we would work with the primary health institutions there, and we would do telehealth consultations for dermatology. It was a really interesting business. I got to experience the first time for the first time how technology could be an enabler for like progress and for like scalability, and I really enjoyed that. That was a company that was a very traditional business in every sense of it, like in the customers that it served, in the way that we would monetize, in all of those things. So I start reading about this concept of startups, of high growth companies, of companies that were impacting the lives of thousands of people at the same time. And that's when I decided that I wanted to build a startup. I ended up quitting my.
Carlos, just right. Was it a book? Was it a couple books? Was it like an aha moment book, or was it just I just started couple things here and there hit me at once? What was it?
It was a bit of everything, to be honest. So I think the very first thing like startup related that I saw was a TED Talk. After that, I went on to read Lean Startup. I went on to read books like Blitzscaling, like all the basics that you would
Yeah,
read.
0 to 1, blitzscaling.
On
Yeah. It's all good.
Hard Thing About Hard Things.
Yeah. There's some good ones,
Still
classics.
one of my favorite books to this day. So yeah, I went on to read that. I started listening a lot to a podcast that I still remember. It's called Masters of Scale from Reid Hoffman, and yeah, like I knew that I wanted to be a part of that. I knew that that's something that I would want to experience, and that's why we decided to like I had met my I had made some recent friends that ended up becoming my co-founders in that moment. We met at a hackathon actually, and and I knew that I wanted to build something. I knew that they were like a very strong fit. So I ended up co-founding a company called Macondo with them. We went through several pivoting iterations before we landed into what we actually end up doing. But it was a company that was designed to allow people from Latin America to invest into US real estate and hedge a lot of the macroeconomic phenomenons that were happening in Latin America. So hyperinflation, hyper devaluation. There was a lot of appetite for a product in USD that would allow them to preserve their patrimony. We were lucky and unlucky, like unlucky in many regions of Latam because we experienced like a lot of very harsh financial phenomenons. Lucky in the sense that our product was placed to help with those phenomenons. So
Yeah.
we grew a lot in countries like Argentina that was experiencing like a hyper devaluation. We grew a lot in Venezuela as well. Again, countries that were experiencing a lot of volatility. Colombia, with our last government, there was like a spike in the interest of wanting to hedge your patrimony outside. So we were able to surf all of those macroeconomic tailwinds. And because of that, we managed to grow the company to $51 million in assets under management. And we ended up being acquired in 2023 by a company that's called BrickSafe, which essentially was our same business for the European market. a much larger company with a lot of institutional money behind it. So it was like a very, very good learning experience. It was literally the 0 to 1, the full circle. We learned a ton about how to create software, how to create high performing teams, how to not create high performing teams.
How
So
to probably raise some money. I'm sure you raised some money there too.
yeah, we did two funding rounds, and it was a tremendous experience. We went through the acquisition M&A as well, so we got to see like how different it was, the raising money M&A and the selling your company M&A. Yeah, so it was very interesting.
Well, cool. Well, so then that gets us all the way up to Braven,
Hmm.
right? So tell us about Braven. Why'd you create it? What's the idea behind it? How's it going to change the world?
Amazing. So I think that in order to speak about Braben, uh, probably the first thing that comes to mind is our understanding about the asset class that we work with, which is insurance. So, unlike the first thought that you get when you think about insurance, which might be not like a great, sexy industry, we do think that insurance is one of the most important financial rails we have as a society. It's one of the only vehicles that we have found to be able to direct a lot of resources towards one goal and not bet the entire company on it. So some of the larger investments that companies make nowadays are only possible because of insurance. So if you think about it, if you're building like a very, very long highway that requires multiple investors, if you don't provide the financial rail for them to have safety, that cannot be done. Same goes for an oil rig or for like for all the major infrastructure projects. They are only possible because of insurance, and we see insurance as a mirror of the economy. So every time that a new industry gets created, industry is going to follow. Insurance is going to follow. Like it's a phenomenon that follows the market. Nowadays, that AI is booming, that crypto is booming, that cyber is booming, a lot of the growth in insurance industry, you see it in those areas. In cybersecurity, you see it in AI liability, you see it in those new assets. So it feels kind of novel and heroic for us that we are able to be the bridge between a very traditional business, a very traditional industry, and like the state of the art of the technology and things that we understand very well.
You mentioned something that every time a new set of products comes out, right? You put some insurance on it, or insurance gets created around it, right? And with AI, the speed and the quantity of products, right? Financial products, crypto products, financial instruments, uh, software products with AI, right? The again the velocity and the quantity are really increasing, which is I think an exciting, so I mean, there's the traditional things that you can wrap around and create some interesting services around, but I mean, also, man, I think we at one point we were talking about like humanoid robots and humanoid robot insurance and all this kind of stuff. So how with all this AI boom in product services, humanoid robot space, right? Tomorrow we got a big IPO tomorrow in spaces. Think about all the different types of products and solutions that happen in space. How are you guys going to capture all of that?
Hmm. Yeah, that's a great question, David. I think that insurance as an industry, one of the biggest bottlenecks that we have is that in order to be able to insure a new asset, we need to understand that asset, right? And don't get me wrong, that's very hard because in AI. you have to understand the underlying market, you have to understand the underlying technology, you have to understand what's the actual percentage of risk that you're taking when you are insuring, and you have to understand what you're insuring. So um, if I am insuring an AI that's doing medical diagnosis, I am being liable for a potential misdiagnosis. I am being liable for up to what extent, right? So that's like very important to understand. A lot of people are asking the same questions all at once in many different fronts because those are questions that haven't been asked before. And we're here for that. We're here to provide the infrastructure. We're here to ask ourselves the hard questions. We're here to create the templates, to create how these things should be done, and to provide a set of tools, a set of guardrails in which people can leverage on and actually come up with products that they feel comfortable with and bridge that traditional industries with these novel assets where they of course want to participate because it's an industry that's booming, but you have to have the guardrails, otherwise it's gonna be very hard.
Got it. So, and then you're originally from Colombia, but you live in San Fran. How do you like San Fran, living in Silicon Valley?
I'm gonna say that I love it.
Or
Uh,
SF. I should say SF. They said, oh, you can't call it San Fran, you got to call it SF.
as that would be
Yeah.
the point to go, but no, man, honestly, San Francisco is a city that gathers a lot of intelligent and ambitious people that are working on the hardest problems in the world, that are pushing for us to have a more productive and positive society in general, that are working towards positive outcomes for society in general. And I think that you don't have that anywhere else in the world, at least under my experience. Like I have not experienced that anywhere else of in any other city that I've been to. So for the moment right now it feels like the place in the world where I have to be.
Yeah, the one thing yeah, I got 2 million miles. I've traveled a lot, but I was in San Fran maybe a month ago or so for a summit that we had with Angeles. And I'm at the bar at some event with one of our sponsors, and just the conversations. Like I go to a bar and I'll hang out, but like whether it was talking about different AI conversations, space, value, just the converse, and then but it's everyone you bump into. There's a couple startup founders here, venture. I mean, it's an amazing, and it's just like one after, and you learn things. I mean, I'm pretty well read, but you learn a lot, and it's just an interesting. And then even the ads, right? Like, in the Midwest, there might be McDonald's and Allstate and
Yeah,
the Chicago Bears, and you go and it's like all like AI and agentic this and crypto this, it's like all the ads and the billboards are,
yeah.
all kind of future leaning. So it's a really cool place to live.
It's so funny that you mentioned it. It happened to me the other day. I was like some friends of mine had put it together an event in a cafe. We went there and I was doing the line in the cafe and there was a guy and I just started talking to him like, "Hey, how's it going? My name is Carlos. What are you working on?" And he literally started telling me he was a Series B company. He was in the health industry. He was doing X and Y. And we had like a pretty decent 20-minute conversation. I ended up connecting him with some people that I knew. He ended up connecting me with an investor that ended up investing in Braven. And at the end of the conversation, I asked him like, "Hey, how do you know these guys?" And he goes like, "No, I don't know them." And we're like, "What? Aren't you like a part of the event?" He's like, "No, I'm just buying coffee." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. That's the reason why I started talking with you." But it was a funny coincidence. It's very unlikely that that's gonna happen to you anywhere else.
All right, so cool. So I think the audience has a pretty good background on you and Braven, and obviously more will be coming out on Braven. So as part of exponential growth, like get your lens on major trends, exponential trends you're seeing. How do you invest in those trends, and then maybe how you're thinking about leading. Let's start with the trends you see. So you've got an insurance background, you've been in a bunch of industries, you got a global background. What if to our audience, what are if you were to say, hey, here's two trends that I'm seeing that you're underestimating, that you need to get your arms around and understand, that's going to be very transformative for the next 5-10 years.
Yep. Probably one primitive of human behavior is that we humans don't like to change, and that's something that everybody that's building software takes for granted because it's one of the primitives that you should respect, like not making the users change their behavior unless it's like necessary for your product to work. Now, what I think is that the value that's being created by the large language models is so high that it's naturally driving human behavior change in an unprecedented pace. So, for example, when ChatGPT came, it would be a long shot for you to think that anybody would change the Googling things behavior. But now it feels very natural for you to think about ChatGPT or Claude as your main source of answering a question you have, even more than Google, because in Google you have to do more work. Now, I think that that's going to be true for the next stage of AI, which is agentic interactions. I think that the probably the biggest jump between the ChatGPT moment and the agentic moment that we're living is that with ChatGPT you would ask stuff, you would ask questions. Now with the agents, you don't ask questions, you ask for outputs. You give orders on things that you want to have done for you. And when you are starting to play with these things, you can connect all your tech stack, you can connect all the tools where your information already lives on, you can connect all the tools that you normally use for your work, and then once you start creating outputs, you realize that the outputs that the agents or the like a good agentic system can create for you are very good. In some cases, they're even more robust than the work that you would have done. So I think that this is incredible. I don't think that we are in a moment in which we can rely everything on AI and that's it. Quite the opposite. I think that the work that you get done with AI, in a way, it's an extension of yourself. It's sort of the same heuristic than when you use a calculator or when you use an Excel spreadsheet. Like, is it not your work because you use technology? I don't think so. Like, I think that it's your work. And I do think that the people that are learning how to create good design systems, that are learning how to properly use a harness, how to create very good skills, how to use a learning system that would have like that reinforced learning that would make your answers more accurate. Like those kind of people, you're going to unlock tremendous value in the market. Definitely, they're going to be able to capture tremendous value. And I think that we as software creators, we underestimate the pace at which everything is going to happen. Probably user interfaces would have close to zero value, like they're not going to matter anymore. The underlying capabilities of your software are going to matter a lot. Your proprietary data is going to matter a lot. The network effects that you have are going to still matter a lot. The user interface, I don't think it's going to matter that much. And I think that that's going to take a toll on many software products, on many SaaS companies. And the ones that really get it, or the ones that really catch up to this soon, are going to be the ones that survive. But it's definitely going to be a shakedown in the market.
Yeah, no, it's this whole, call it, yeah, you said, you would type in a chat GPT and then you get an answer back. And now it's you're basically asking for an outcome and it's doing that. And with humans, right, you'd ask for an outcome and the human might spend, a day or two or a week pulling it together. They give you the outcome and you're like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and you're almost afraid to tell them that you don't like it because they put so much time. With AI, you just do that. Oh, okay. What do I need to do? Just that they go on, they crank it out. And one of the thing, and it goes to your question around like change and speed, is that like they can do this analysis, like what would take weeks takes minutes, and then they can come back, and it's almost like you can imagine, and it's like if it's asynchronous, where you're giving it a outcome you want with some rules, and then you're waiting it for it to come back. That's cool, that's great. But then you go to bed and you wake up the next day and you maybe ask it for another outcome, and it can give it to you. The where I see it is where they're working for you around the clock. And it's like you're giving them out because they do it and they're feeding you options. And then and they're not only they're feeding you options, they're prioritizing the options. And then you say, yes, no, yes, no, no. And then they go out and then they're, cranking again. Right. And when you're like working in a world like that, it's a whole different mental model on how you work and leverage the power of these agents or fleet of agents to do work. Like how and where do you put them, and how often are they doing it? Not even now with cost, right? How efficiently are they doing them? It is one that I see that people don't know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
And this trend that you're bringing up is it's a big one. It's a big one. So okay. Any other trends that you want to touch on, or any follow-up on that one before we jump into your thoughts around investing?
Yeah, no, I think that agents in general are probably the main trend that I'm seeing in software. And there's a lot of second order problems that come with it. So once you have an agent that understands you very well and that's capable of doing a lot of things for you, do you want to give that agent access to your bank account? Do you want to give that agent
Health
access to your
data.
phone books? Like where do you draw the line? And I think that there's a lot of companies that are working. They're not working in the cars anymore. They're working in traffic, like the second order problems. I was just at the Stripe sessions. They announced bank accounts for agents. A good friend of mine is doing a vending machine with an agent at its core, and the agent gets to decide what products to order, when to refill itself. The agent had even hired humans to refill the machine. So uh, we're seeing like very crazy stuff. So I think those are probably like the biggest trends that I'm seeing at the moment.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a big one. For those listening, keep an eye on this one. It's transformational. It's coming, oh my God, very fast. Um, okay, investing. So you've done some investing throughout your career, and obviously your parents are investors, and in one way or another, as business owners.
Mhm.
And then also you've received investment. So when all these trends, AI, how should just from your viewpoint, how should our listeners think about investing?
Yeah, so I think there are many flavors to that and many moments in which you invest, right? The process that you should follow in order to assess a pre-seed investment, it's at all the process that you should follow if you are choosing to invest in the SpaceX IPO, because there are two different
Oh my
completely
gosh.
different
I tell people, everybody's like, Dave, are you in the SpaceX experience? I'm like, nah, where you wanted to be, and I just put out a post. You wanted to be in the seed round,
Yeah, exactly.
you would have got
Not
I
now.
think a 200,000 X. If 10,000 would have given you, I think 2 billion. 10,000 investment, and that would be worth 2 billion, assuming they do a whatever $2 trillion IPO.
Yeah, no, it's insane. It's insane. Even the wielders, the early wielders in
Yeah.
SpaceX are becoming millionaires. So,
Oh yeah, yeah, deca millionaires, right? I mean, they're going to do well. They're going to do well.
so yeah, I'm very glad that that's happening for them. But yeah, I would say, David, that in moments like the one that we're living right now, which is an industrial revolution where everything is changing at such a high pace, the one thing in which I feel comfortable about investing is again in people. Like you want to underwrite the person, you want to underwrite the team. You might want to underwrite the founding team market fit. That's probably something that you
Yep.
want to think about. Do you think that first, do you think this team is good? Second, do you think that this team is good for this specific problem? I think that if those two end up being true, then it's gonna be very hard in pre-seed for you to assess the rest of it, mostly because everything is gonna change. Everything is gonna change and everything is gonna change fast. And when you're underwriting the person, you're essentially betting on the fact that that group of people or that people or that person, if it's a solo founder, is gonna be able to figure things out. That's the bet, right? That's
Yeah.
the only thing that you're betting. As a company gets more mature and goes more towards seed or towards Series A, then there are more things to consider. Like, do they have any customers? How is the retention of those customers? Are the customers seeing value? Are they leaving the company or are they leaving the service after a while? How are the cohorts behaving? Are those cohorts that are expanding over time? Are they managing to extract more value out of the product that they are creating, or are those cohorts that remain static or that are decreasing in time, which is what you wouldn't want. So yeah, I would say that those are things that you can start measure as the startup grows. But yeah, I think that it depends a lot on the stage.
Yeah. I mean, and the each as startups, obviously, as they get more mature, they're a little bit more de-risked, right? So that very early on, super high risk, super high reward.
Mhm.
SpaceX isn't a bad example. I mean, it's not a bad example, right? Uh, they had his mom. His mom said something like, when he started his first company, his friends looked at him weird or something like that. And then she said when they and I told him, "Oh, you're going to do it." And she said when he told me he was going to build a rocket or something like that, I said, "Oh, you're really, you're weird. There's something. This is going to. Are you sure? Are you sure?" And uh, but it gets de-risked along the way, and your return is less. And then the other thing I think for the listeners too is like startups is just one asset class of many, right, that are out there. So that's just the other thing to think about. Okay, so the last part then, Carlos, is leadership, right? So you've led different companies and you've learned different companies, different industries, different profiles. One being an exit corporate restaurant, and now Braven. What you've made, and you've like all of us, you've had a couple mistakes in here and there, but now we're in an interesting time. Huge advancements in technology tools, remote worker, global work, things are changing really fast. What's changed? What's changed about your leadership style? What's the same? How do you, what are some things that you're doing to best lead your team? And what advice would you give to those who are in leadership roles in this world of, call it AI, tech change that's out there?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, David, that one of the coolest things that we have as humans is that we are a product that's never finished. We are always evolving. We're maturing ideas as we get more input around the beliefs that we have. I think that there are a lot of things that you do as a startup founder that consciously or unconsciously are driven by validation and are driven by wanting to have recognition. But I think that once you experience some of that, you realize that that's like a drug in a way that's shallow. You experience like, yeah, they publish it on Forbes. That's good. Like it's very interesting. You have a picture to send to your mom. That happened on a Thursday, and then by Monday, everything like everybody forgot already. So what's like that's not a goal line at all. Now, when you start digging deeper into why do you do what you do, you have to ask harder questions to yourself, and we're not very good at it. Like we humans can procrastinate the big questions a lot, or can even endure a lifetime without asking them, and that's crazy. So you have to ask, like, what's my purpose in the world? Why do I do what I do? What gives me energy? What would make my life at the end of it a successful one? And what I've seen is that that answer can vary tremendously by like the different people that you ask the same questions. I have good friends that are very into biology and like theoretical physics and things that are deeper because at the end of the day that might be like the biggest questions in the world. For me, they are something that feels too far, and I find more drive, I find more energy in the impact that I can have in people's lives, in the bridges that were not there that I can open just because something that we created, how we were able to get talent from Latin America and put them to work in state of the art technology and change a traditional industry in the US, and all the value that's being created by doing that and all the impact that that's going to have in underdeveloped regions like Latam. That's something that I feel much stronger about. That's a purpose that it really excites me. So yeah, I think that answer can be different, but depending on who you ask. But I think it's so important to ask yourself that, because the moment you start having clues on what is your internal driver, it becomes an engine and it becomes a source of fuel that is going to be there with you when things are not looking great. And I think that's the most important part that you can have as a founder.
Yeah, it's great. And I wrote this book called Networking Excellence. It's about relationships, networking, meeting people, all that kind of stuff. And what I say is, to before you even meet people and connect and all that stuff, the number one thing you need to have is a strong foundation.
Mhm.
And you were hitting exactly on that. And what you need, and there's four components of the foundation, right? One is deep self-assessment. And then you hit on them, like, what's your vision? What's your purpose? What makes you happy? What value do you add? What are your strengths, weaknesses, threats? What do you want to write on your tombstone when you die? Like all of that deep self-assessment it's hard. And by the way, it changes. Like what makes you happy today, it doesn't make you happy. It wasn't made me happy 5 years ago. And then so that's like the first part. The next one is, well, once you know that, you can say, well, what are the goals that I want? Like, what are the goals that I want? And make them very smart goals, specific, measurable, time bound, realistic, all that. And then once you then then the next is like, now what's my brand? What do I stand for? What do I believe in and what do I stand for? And then you power that with routines, right?
Yeah.
That and for networking, like this is because if you don't have that foundation, I can network with anybody, but you're not going to be you're not going to be excellent at networking, which is the book. But and what you're saying is that foundation is vital for leadership, regardless of what technologies and things are going on and happening, right? Because if you don't have that foundation as a human and you're leading teams and all that kind of stuff, you're not going to lead them well. They're going to be all over the place.
Mhm. Yeah, that's exactly my point, David. And I think that a lot of what happens to us in life is driven by how we think of ourselves. And once you start thinking about you or your team or your company differently, the bar on what's possible really changes. But you have to actually believe it. And believing it is very hard because you can say things like, yeah, I believe I can do $1 billion company. And then you go out into the market and nobody wants to buy your product. And then you go to talk to investors and nobody wants to invest in your company. So it's very hard to keep believing that when that's like something that you're getting, right? So yeah, I think it's something that you develop over time. Small levels of success or a positive loop towards that. They give you more and more confidence in yourself and what's possible, and you become more ambitious as well. So I think that that's something that is a work in progress that you have to improve on every day.
Yeah, no, excellent, Carlos. Well, hey, I know you got a lot going on with Braven and a lot of great things going on. So I want to thank you for taking the time and sharing your insights with us in these areas. How do people stay connected with you and any other major news coming up from Braven that we should be aware of?
We just went through a major rebrand. Our company used to be called Citrix. We changed the name last week, so we're announcing that on Monday. Probably by the time this episode comes out, it's gonna already be live. We're also announcing our seed round. It was a $4.6 million seed round. We had incredible investors such as Angeles Ventures. So we're very happy about building the future of insurance alongside such good individuals. And yeah, all of that's going to be announced next week. So we're very happy about it.
And I think on social media, what's your social media handles people can follow you?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn just by typing my name, Carlos Andres Chavez Ruiz. And yeah, that's probably the major source of connection with me.
All right, excellent. Well, hey, everyone, thanks for tuning in to listen to Carlos Chavez, the CEO and founder of Braven on Exponential Growth, where we look at the investing trends, leadership, and where do you invest? How do you best invest in these times? Thank you all for listening. And until next time.
Thanks for having me. Bye.